All right. So um, once again, as we have all seen, um, this year's case is relatively simple. I don't know if it's because it's the last exams for the syllabus. I hope you all know that the new syllabus is starting next year. I mean next sitting, sorry, next sitting. So it's kind of okay, and at least it makes sense when you go through it. So it's about the real estate industry of Ghana. All right. So as I said, we are going to look at the course from the beginning, and also, I mean, we're not going to talk about the case today, basically. Yeah. But as I admonished you guys the last time, please and please again, I beg you, please read the case, be conversant with the case. Okay, that's why Eben shared the audio with us. So when you are washing, when you are walking, when you are in a car, you listen to it. All right, so that on the day, I know someone who just went to the exams room without reading the case. Guys, you're not going to survive. So the person went to read the case. The person went to read the case in the exams room. Guys, it's a pre-scene. It is for us to go through and be conversant with it. So that when it comes and they ask you to do something, you just flip to that side and go and pick the information. Get it? Okay. And this is a pre-scene, all right? I can foresee a lot of tricks that is going to come. Okay. So, for instance, looking at the case, there is an indication that MPV is going to come. All right. So those are on the page. I shared with you nominal inflation and cost of real cost of capital or real inflation for your reading. Because if or in case MPV comes, it helps us to do it. But I can see another flip of lease or buy that the examiner can bring. Okay. So this is just a pre-scene. So we shouldn't really think that, oh, this is the one that is coming. No. Like the examiner can do anything. The unseen can change everything. Okay. But at least if we know this right now, it is going to help us answer a lot of the questions because all our explanations, all our everything is going to be based on the pre-scene. You get it? So let's start. Let's start from the top. Today we are doing thorough revision. So let's start. So um, as we all know, today I'm even using the book. I'm not using my notes because I want us to look at the book itself. I mean the syllabus. So let me project. Let me project. So aside this revision, I would also recommend that you sit and also do a back-to-back revision of the course. It really helps. It really helps when you sit down yourself and revise the course on your own. All right. So I hope you guys know this. So this is the syllabus. All right. I mean, this is a new thing, so we are going to rush through it quickly and move on to the content of the. So strategic objectives, the weighting is 10. Internal and external environments 10. Strategic models 10. Organizational structure. Going through the case, I hope you guys saw decentralization and centralization. All right. Business plan 20 marks. Financial strategy 10. Financial strategies objectives also 10. Corporate governance theory is 5 marks. Corporate governance in Ghana 5 weights. OECD principles 5. improvement of governance in organization. 5. Okay. Guys, the examiner can bring any question. All right. Sometimes you go and there is no question on business plan. Like you can't go and hold the examiner responsible that why didn't you bring business plan, even though you said 20 weight is from business plan. Like it's his or her paper. Okay. So they choose what to do. But at least if we know that it guides us on our studies. All right. All right. So we realize that some of the waiting, so HIJ corporate governance. All right. Then A to E also talk about strategic management. All right. Okay. So we know that chunk of the marks is coming from strategic management. So your strategic management should be strong as well as the other areas. All right, sure. So let's look at the content of this. Okay. I mean, obviously we all know about this, but with the first one, which is strategic objectives, we have um, the strategies. Guys, this shouldn't be a new thing. Anything I'm going to mention to you today shouldn't be a new thing. Okay. It shouldn't be a new thing. Because at least you should have read it or should have heard it in class. So we have the levels of strategy. We have vision and mission statements, balance scorecard, core values, culture of organizations, laws and regulations, and some form of ethics. So the ethics that we learned under chapter 11 to 15 is part of the strategic objectives of 10 marks. Okay. All right. So we also learn CSR, that's corporate social responsibility. All right. And all that. So that is it for the first one. All right. So at least you should know something about this. You should know something about ethics, especially because the examiner, you know how now ICA is incorporating ethics into the exams. So please, your ethics should be strong. Your balance scorecard, your mission and vision should be strong. You might not have seen anything like that in the case. Okay. Not, I mean, but as I always say, the question can be, the questions can, is not necessarily going to be based on the case. You have to link your responses to the case. All right, great. So let's move on to the second one, which is internal and external environment. So here we are looking at the environment of companies. So we have international business environment. Once again, this is one thing that I saw in the case. So if you guys have read the case, you realize that the company is already operating in Sierra Leone and other countries of Africa, and they also want to go to other countries. I mean, within Africa. So that's talking about the international business environment of PBL. So please, even before we start the analysis of the case, please read Porter's diamond because of what we have seen, right? So with the internal and external environment, we have personal analysis, we have Porter's 5 forces, we have group analysis, we have stakeholder analysis. This is where we looked at the stakeholder mapping and all that. So we also have resource audit, core competences, and value chain analysis. We have SWOT analysis, gap analysis, and other things. So that's it for internal and external environment. As I said, it's also 10 marks. So Porter's diamond, it's likely to come because of um, the fact that PBL moved to other countries. Okay. All right, so let's move on to the next one, which is strategic models, where we have the generic crop, the concentration strategies, diversification strategies, guys. So you realize that PBL diversified into other other things. Okay, so they started with housing, but they also started other things like drainage, electricity. Okay, if you remember the case, so it's likely the examiner also bring diversification strategy. So please don't forget your unsolved models, your conglomerate diversification, and your related diversification. So we have combination strategies and all that. We have Boston model, we have Mackenzie's, we have General Electric, we have Shell directional policy. We have public service metrics by Montanari and Breaker. We have Ashridge portfolio and unsolved growth vector. We have the EPRG framework. This is also a likely examinable question because of the fact that they are going international. These are international strategic choices. If you recall, EPRG. We are going to look at all of those today. We have integration and responsiveness metrics and all that. We also have strategic alliance. The case said that PBL had a strategic alliance with SNET. They had a joint venture with SNET. Okay, so joint venture is here. Exporting, licensing, franchising, strategic alliances, wholly owned subsidiary. Then we have measures and acquisition. Was there any measure in the case? I didn't see anything like that. But we realized that the PBL also invested in other companies like um, the or facility management companies and other companies. We have incremental strategy, free will learning opportunism, creative strategy, and learning organizations. So that's it for strategic models. I mean, we're going to go over them like very quickly right now, and that's what we're going to do today. Then we go on to organizational structure. All right, where we said it can be flat or tall. We discuss responsibility, authority, and accountability. We discuss differentiation and integration, bureaucracy and post-bureaucracy, centralization and decentralization. Part of the case spoke about the fact that the operations and other things of PBL is centralized in Ghana. Okay, so centralization, decentralization. We're going to look at the case, don't worry. We have resource sharing and collaborative working. So we have the structures, simple structures, functional structures, divisional structures, matrix, hybrid, and all of those. We have shared management teams, shared services, pooled budgeting, outsourcing, consortia, and networks. Guys, if you understand strategic case study, like you realize that every line can be a question. Trust me, every line can be a question. If you are reading the case and you really understand the concept, every line is a possible question. All right. So, yes. So please let's read. We have about 2 weeks, guys, until we are seated in the exam room. It's not over yet. Even if you are yet to start, it is not over yet because probably what you learn is what is going to come. So um, let's continue and let's strive. So we have business plans. Okay, we have business plans. So where we have Mackenzie's 7S framework, we have Henry Mintzberg theory, we have the actual business plans. All right. We have performance management, we have risk. So risk identification, risk assessment, and management. We also have controlling risk control. We have systems. If you remember, we did IT and IS. We spoke about cybersecurity, big data. We spoke about IT in organizations and all that. We also looked at human resource, and we looked at the actual business plan. So business plan, 20 marks, is not necessarily about writing a business plan. Okay. That is the last one here, preparing a schedule to meet the objective and tasks contained in the business plan. That's the last thing here. But all these things can also be under the
Yeah,
business
sure.
that the examiner sets is 20 marks. So risk, if you remember, we spoke about risk, the categories of risk. We spoke about assessment, identification, monitoring, and all that. Responsibility of or people who are responsible for risk management in organization. We spoke about all of those. All right, so that is 20 marks. Then we have financial strategy objectives, where we have investment appraisal. Okay, so this is what I said is the likely examiner book, because if you check, we have an information that you can use to do MPV. All right, and there is also an indication that you can do lease or buy. All right, so please let's revise our MPV and our lease or buy, because so far that's the most likely that I have seen that it might come. MPV and lease or buy. All right. So that is it. Very short. We also have treasury management here. We have international financial management here. So here we spoke about transfer pricing. We spoke about getting sources from international sources, borrowing outside Ghana, and all that. We also have financial strategies. So we have financial strategy objectives and financial strategies, where we have um, short, medium, and long-term financing options. We have methods of raising new capital, gearing, dividend policy, and all that. We also have budget, cash budget, and cash forecast here. Very simple. We have corporate governance theories. We have agency theory, stewardship theory, transaction cost theory. We have the stakeholder theory. We also have the actual corporate governance framework in Ghana. Okay, so we have corporate governance theory, 5 marks. So just this topic, chapter 22. If you master it, you have 5 marks assured. Okay, so if you know what corporate governance is and the importance of corporate governance, if you know the theories of corporate governance, you have 5 marks, because that is what the syllabus is saying. Corporate governance theories, 5 marks. So 5 out of 50, right? We also have corporate governance in Ghana, where we have um, the board structure and directors. If you remember, we have the role of non-executive directors. Looking at the question, you see non-executive directors in there. All right, guys, if you fail this paper, okay, don't fail here. I pray none of us fail. But these are areas that you have to get at least 15/20 corporate governance. All right, because it's relatable. Okay, because I know most of us are working, most of us have learned it before and all that. So it's relatable, and it's relatively simple as compared to the strategic case study model. I mean the strategic management models and all that. Guys, can you please mute? Shh, is that? All right. So this is also giving us 5 marks. So you have to know the role of non-executive directors. You have to know the role of directors in corporate governance, executive remuneration, how corporate governance issues are disclosed in the annual report, internal control and corporate governance, the role of audit in corporate governance. Guys, look at something here. J, okay, OECD principles of corporate governance, 5 marks. So just the OECD principles, you know them, you know what OECD requires boards to do. You have 5 marks. 5 marks, so they are dashing it to us. So those of us who haven't read it yet, the OECD principles, okay, know it. Before we even look at the case, you realize that when you read the case, you realize that one of the owners or one of the founders of the company, of PBL Company Limited, I think Osman Boachi. Yes, that's the name. Osman Boachi. He's also the executive chair of the company. All right. But you realize that OECD suggests a difference or a separation between ownership and control. Okay. So even though OECD do not force these principles on us, since you are knowledgeable of these things, the examiner might ask you, okay, to advise the company on that. All right. Okay. Sure. So let's move on. The K, which is the last one, we have improving governance in corporations, the role of the accountant. We have IFAC's Code of Ethics. These are things that we know from FR, PSA, CR, right? Okay. So as we are all aware, the exams is 3 hours, 50 marks. And usually it's in two sessions, session A and session B. Right. Before we look at the let's look at this. I want us to look at the tutor tips. Even though this is in the book, I don't think most of us have been able to look at it. So let's look at it. So this is what I've done, or this is what the examiner wants us to know, that the business strategy is from chapters 1 to 8. So that's the strategic management side. Sessions 1 to 8. So chapter 1 to chapter 8 talks about business strategy. Then we have 9 to 10 looking at risk. We have 11 to 15 talking about ethics, financial strategy 16 to 21, and corporate governance 22 to 25. So please, I'm begging us, let's go and read it. Let's go and read this. Sweetest tips. Okay. Even if you have time, you can even start from this side. You can start from final revision. What the examiner is saying. Like it might not make sense, but please read it. Read it and know what they want you to do. Okay. So starting from the final revision, look at the two test tips especially. All right. Please look at it. We don't have time. I would have gone through all of those because it's very helpful. Okay. So this is what I was talking about. Let's look at this. During the exams, you will receive additional unseen information. This is more likely to deal with specific issues, plans, changes, decisions, opportunities, or challenges that the company is currently facing. The questions would generally relate more directly to this information. For example, you could be told in the unseen material that the organization is considering acquiring another company and asked to evaluate the proposal. However, as well as using the information given about the proposal and the unseen information, you would also enrich your answer with the knowledge gained from your preparatory work based on the advanced material. Remember that you may need to amend some of your conclusions and findings from the advanced material in light of the new information. There may be new opportunities to consider, for instance, or they may have been a fundamental change in the market. So that's what I said initially, that The case is just a background to the unseen and to the questions. But if you
Yeah.
know the case, if you know the advanced, what is in the advanced material, it really helps. Because if you are supposed to go and talk about the diversification, you can't talk about diversification out of the case. You have to link it to the case. How do you link it? You have to go to the place that the question was talking about diversification. Okay. All right. So, okay. So before we go, let's look at this. So you give evidence and examples. You look for linkages. Very important. Look for linkages. So if you are conversant with the case or the advanced material, you know that, oh, this place was talking about risk. So the question asks me to describe 6 categories of risk. I can't just do market risk, credit risk, and go away. If there is any credit risk in the question, I'll link it. And that's how we are going to earn our marks. Else, we are going to get small, small marks and we might not pass the paper. Okay. So your writing, your solutions shouldn't be in vain. It shouldn't be independently or separately from what the case is talking about. So you might know credit risk. Is there anything in the case talking about credit risk? If there is, please link it. Okay, link it so that examiner will know that, like, examiner will not have any chance to give you or mark you down. Do you understand? Okay, so that is very important, guys. Link it. Even if you don't know where the area that you can link, just bring the name of the company inside. Bring the CEO, the name of the CEO inside. Do you understand? So you might not even know the aspect of the case talking about your response, but you can do a general example, but you bring the name of the company inside. So if the examiner see you writing PBL company, the CEO, Osman Boachi, and things, like, definitely you're linking it. You understand? Okay. So quickly, let's run through the chapters, guys. Today we are doing, this is not singathon. This is what strategicathon. We are rushing, all right, so that we will get more time to go through the case or to look at the case. So in case you haven't seen, all right, in case you have forgotten something, at least this is a rush hour. So with strategy, all right, as usual, we discussed the definition of strategy. If you remember, we had a lot of definitions. All right. I don't think the examiner is interested in you knowing the meaning of strategy. Okay. So we are just going. Please follow me. Right. Please follow me. So we spoke about importance of strategic management. Okay. We spoke about the levels of strategy, where we said that strategy can help happen at the corporate level, which is the topmost level, at the business level, and at the functional level. Okay. Right. So we had the elements of each of the levels. Okay. We realized that the corporate levels, they are the bosses, right? So they decide the purpose of the entity. They decide what the company is going to engage in. Okay. And they decide a lot of things for the company. So they are usually top management, right? And before they set any corporate objective or a goal, they depend on some things that we spoke about. For instance, they look at what owners expect them to do. Okay, so every mission, every vision of a company is dependent on the ideas of the shareholders. Okay, now we have stakeholder theory saying that we shouldn't only consider the interest of the shareholders. So the company might not also look at just the expectations of the owners, but they will consider the expectations of other stakeholders before setting the objective or the vision of the company. We have the business level, all right, where we said that sometimes companies have strategic business units which are being headed by certain managers. So they also set some level of strategies, right? And we discussed that they can set a cost leadership strategy or a differentiation strategy. Let's even forget about, let's not look at cost leadership and differentiation at the moment. We are going to look at it later in our revision. So we have functional strategy, where every function of the organization also have their strategy. So IT, marketing, research, accounts, finance, they all have their strategy that they also follow. So 3 levels of strategy: corporate, business, functional. I don't know how this is going to help, but it might help you somewhere. All right. So we have 3 approaches to strategic planning. Guys, anything can come, right? That's one thing about Stra. But the the happy thing is that we don't have to get 100% to pass. Okay. So you definitely have your strengths. Look at it. So you have been learning strategic case study for a while now. You know where, like, you know that, oh, the strategic management side, I remember than the other side. Guys, try as much as possible to do much work there. I'm not saying don't look at the other side, but do much work there. Okay. If you're able to do that, you're going to pass. All right. So you do much work at where your expertise is, and you do other things too. So you get everything at where you are expert at, and you go and get small at the other part. All right. So we have different approaches to strategic planning. We have the rational planning model, we have the logical incremental model, and lastly, we have the freewheeling opportunism model. I don't think I have time to talk about that right now. Guys, this is something that has come before. The elements of strategic management by Johnson, Scholes, and Whittington. So, strategic position, strategic choices, and strategy into action. Strategic position, as the name suggests, we are looking at how we stand at the moment. What is our position? We are accountants, so we know statement of financial position. We know that it is an asset position. So, as at a particular time, where do the companies stand in the market? Okay, so that's strategic position. We have 3 aspects of strategic position: the environment, strategic capability, and expectations and purposes. Right. We have strategic choices. Okay, so here we are looking at the alternatives that are available for companies, all right, to select from. So since we spoke about 3 levels of strategy, it means that these choices are going to also, they are going to be available at all the levels. So the corporate level will have their alternatives or their choices, the business level will have theirs, and the functional level will also have theirs. Okay. Because the corporate level usually undertake the international decisions, that's why we are saying that corporate and international level. Because if the company wants to diversify, that decision is not taken at the business level or the functional level, it's taken at the corporate level. All right. So these are some of the strategies: market penetration, development, product development, and diversification, and soft model. Please don't forget. So you realize that in the case, guys, I said that if you understand the thing, you'll be seeing the concept in the case. In the case, you realize that the examiner said that PBL or wants to move to or have moved to other regions aside Greater Accra. The examiner mentioned some of the regions, like Western region. Guys, I'm not reading the case, so I've read it. So I'm speaking it. So we also have to read it and speak it. Okay, I've read it about once, just once, and I'm speaking it. So penetration, market penetration. Why? Why am I saying that? Because PBL moved their products. No, sorry, market development. Sorry, market development. Because PBL moved their products, that same product, that is existing product, to a different market, which is the different regions. Okay, so if the case said that they moved to Western region, Asante region, all right, they moved to those regions, they were moving to a different market, okay, with the existing product. So that is market development. So once again, answers model likely or very likely because diversification is also part. All right. So let's look at strategy into action. This is where we put we do the talk, we walk the talk. Okay, so we said we want to do this, so we are doing it. So we do that by organizing, by enabling, and also managing change. So we also discuss change management somewhere. All right. So this is some of the things that we did here. We also spoke about mission, vision, goals, objectives, strategies, aims, tactical plans, operational plans. We discussed mission and vision. We're not going to talk about it today. We know the difference, right? And I'm sure in the case we all saw the vision, or we've seen the vision and the mission of PBL, right? Is it relevant? How do we say a particular mission is relevant? When it provides a basis for consistent strategic planning. So please, as I said, everything can come. Once there is vision and mission there, there's someone can ask you what is the relevance of mission statement. So please know that we discuss goals and objectives. We said that objectives should be smart. All right. They should be smart. So they should be specific, measurable, they should be agreed upon, they should be realistic and timely. Great. Who decides mission and these things? We know that they are decided at the top level, which is the board. That is if the company has a board. You know, some companies do not have a board. They have just management. So if they have a board, it will be done at the board. If they have a management, it will be done there. So we spoke about stakeholders, the expectation. We realized that sometimes there is a conflicting interest, or there is a conflict between the expectation. So if you want to advance the interest of one shareholder, you have to deny the other shareholder of the benefits. One example that I was really using was bonus and dividend, right? So if employees are interested in bonus, obviously, right? They want companies to pay them bonus, but shareholders are not interested in that. Why? Because if we pay bonus, right, the profit available for the shareholders will decrease. It will go down for their dividend to also go down, or for the monies available to them to go down. So they are obviously not interested in that. So there are a whole lot of stakeholders. I'm sure by now we know a lot of them. We also discuss the expectation. So all the shareholders, all the stakeholders have the expectations. So management, they have the expectation. Shareholders, they have the expectation. Employees, they have the expectations. Suppliers have the expectation. Then we came to stakeholder mapping. We said that we have two matrices here. Very important. Stakeholder position importance matrix and power interest matrix. Please don't confuse one with the other one. Okay. Stakeholder importance position matrix and the power interest matrix. So we realized that the power interest is also called the Mendeley matrix. So in our discussion, we said that sometimes there's something I will not tell you that
So what?
analyze this using the stakeholder power interest matrix. No.
Hopes are not enough.
Okay. There's some now, guys. Can we please mute? Let's please mute. All right. So sometimes there's some now will not tell you what to do. So they won't tell you that conduct the stakeholder power matrix. They will tell you to do or
No,
analyze
hold on.
or
Okay.
conduct a stakeholder mapping according to Mendeley. So I told you guys that try as much as possible to know the names too. Okay, so that sometimes if they don't tell you what to do and they tell you what to do according to
Mm,
someone, know that
so this
oh,
one
this
is
is
this.
what Cortez did, or this is what Johnson and Scholes did. This is what Mendelo did. So this is what the examiner wants me to do. So yes, we had this matrix. We said that sometimes a particular issue will be at hand, and management or the director should consider the position of the stakeholder on the issue and their importance, because we can't satisfy anybody or everybody. Do you get it? So we have to look at how important you are and your position on the matter, whether you oppose it or you support it, and whether you are important or you are very important or less important. So we spoke about problematic, low priority, supporter, and antagonistic. I hope that we know the explanations for all of these. I told you guys that sometimes you might not even know the explanation. No. Just know how to draw the matrix and what is in each quadrant. Okay. Know the matrix, draw it, and know what is in each quadrant. For instance, I don't know what problematic is, but if I know how to draw it,
This one
after
will pay
drawing
am.
it, I can say that
That's
the
will pay
problematic
am
has
next week.
an opposing view
Charlie.
and is less important. If you are
Alright.
able to say this,
That
you are
one
going to get
is
your marks. Do you get it? You are going to get your marks by just saying that with the problematic, they are opposing or they oppose the issue at hand, and they are not really important, or they are not a very important stakeholder. I just use this picture or this diagram to explain it. All right. But if you go and look at the case, they will be talking plenty, right? So know how to draw the matrix, know what is in each quadrant, and just write per the matrix. Okay, so this is the importance position. We also have the Mendel's matrix, which is the power matrix. So here we are looking at the power of the stakeholder, not the importance, the power of the stakeholder and how the stakeholder is interested in the issue at hand. Right. So we have minimal effort, we have keeping them satisfied, we have key players and keeping them informed. So if the stakeholder that we have taken, right, has a very strong power, right, and the person is very interested in the situation at hand, then they are key players. Okay. If they have power, but they are not really interested in the issue at hand, you keep them satisfied. You don't do anything that will push them away. Whatever decision that you take shouldn't affect their interest. They are just not interested in the issue at hand, but they have interest in the company. So whatever you are doing, whatever decision you are taking should keep them satisfied because they are powerful. If you do anything that do not keep them satisfied, they will leave and they might have problems for the company. Right. So this is the end of chapter one. Let's move on to chapter two, where we have environmental analysis. Okay. So we have the pestle analysis per the case. I don't know if the examiner will bring it, but guys, anything is possible. So with this section, I am I am suggesting you look at Porter's diamond carefully, right? With this session, let's look at Porter's diamond carefully because most of the information in the case is skewed to Porter's diamond than it is to the pestle analysis. We're going to look at pestle analysis anyway. So we realize that organizations don't operate in isolation, right? They don't just operate with their internal resources, their internal strengths, and their internal weaknesses. Okay. They have external environment that also affects their operations. So that's what we call the environmental analysis. So we are looking at things that are not within the company, things that are outside the company that can have an effect or a potential effect on the company. Okay. All right. So we have the PESO analysis and the Porter's diamond. So we all know PESO, political, economic, social, and cultural, or socio-cultural, technological, ecological, and legal. Guys, I know that by now we know all of these. So political environment, right? And my class, I told you guys that sometimes political environment or political factors can be economical factors. For instance, as a company, right, the implementation of levy was a political decision. We all agree, right? It was a political decision. It also have an economical influence or an economical implication, right? Because it's taxation. So sometimes political factors can also be economic. Sometimes, not always. Sometimes it can be economic. So when
Sometimes,
you
not
get a
always.
peso
Sometimes
question,
it can be
guys,
economic. So when you get a peso question, guys,
when you get a peso question,
when you
please
get a peso
don't
question,
stress.
please don't stress.
Guys, can you please mute?
Guys,
Can
can
you
you
please
please
mute?
mute? Can
Getting
you please
a
mute?
feedback.
I'm getting a back.
All right. So as I was saying, when you get a personal question, don't stress. So the question will tell you to analyze the external environment or the environmental or do an environmental analysis according to PESO. Right? Political environment. So or political factors. So just do the headings there. You know the case. So just go to the case. So if you know the case, you know what in the question relates to political or what in the question is a political factor or what in the question is an environmental factor. So when you get that question, just you might not even explain, list them. You might not even have time to explain, just list them. List. And remember, it can be an opportunity or a threat. So it's not just an opportunity. It can be a threat as well. So you can write your heading, political factors. Then you start opportunities. If you see any opportunity in the case, write number one, this, number two, this. Then you leave space, threat, you write it. Guys, it is 10 marks. Write as much as possible. Okay, you're going to get marks there. You don't sit and wait and explain. Writing as much as possible, I think, will earn you more marks because it's you are picking from the case and you do not need to explain why it is political. So if the examiner takes it and the examiner thinks it's not political, they should just give you wrong, right? But if it is, they are marking you because it is a political factor in the case. You don't really need to explain it. So don't go and write that explaining the thing that you have seen in the case. You get it. So you can just um talk about what political factors are, then you start. Opportunities, threats. Sometimes you might get two threats, seven opportunities. Write it for them because you are trying to garnish or you are trying to harness as much as possible marks that you can. Guys, we need 50. We need 50. All right. So that is it. We have legal. Please, when we are learning the models, we should take note of the advantages, the disadvantages. Because sometimes the examiner will bring small 5 marks. What are the limitations of the PESO analysis? So please take note of those things. What are the advantages of that? So as you are reading, take note of the limitations, the advantages, because if you go through the past questions, the A will be the PESO analysis, then the B will be limitations of PESO analysis, right? So, so let's briefly talk about the limitations. You know, these PESO analysis only help us to analyze what has happened in the past and what is happening now. It does not give us any indication of what is going to happen in the future. So that is one major limitation of the PESO analysis. It also do not provide any quantitative measures for us. All right. So we are saying PESO, we are saying political factors, social factors, technological factors. Now, which one should we concentrate on? But if this analysis had quantitative points, so we have weights attached to them, you know that, oh, the economical factors have the carry the most weight. So let's focus on that one first before we deal with the other ones. Do you get it? So that's also one of the limitations of the PESO analysis. So Porter's diamond here, Porter's diamond. Unfortunately, I might not have time to go through everything. Okay, but let's see. So, as I said, this is a likely examinable question. So please, let's read it again. Porter's diamond. So we have four elements here. Favorable factor conditions, related and supporting industries. So as you are reading this, please go through the case and know and look at the case. Are there any favorable factor conditions? Are there any related and supporting industries? Are there any demand conditions in the market? Is there a firm strategy? Is there a firm structure? Are there any rivalries in the industry? So please take note of these four elements because this is what makes up the Porter's diamond. So this is the diamond. This is the diamond. So we have the strategy, the structure, the rivalry, demand conditions, favorable factor conditions, related and supported industries. So the factor conditions can be grouped into two. They are basically the factors of production. So we have land and all the factors of production you know in economics. Right? So we have the basic and the advanced. The basic are the ones that God gives to the countries. So they exist naturally. Like companies don't stress over them. All right. The advanced factors are created. They are not inherited. They are created. So I was always asking or telling my class that if we mention Cuba, they are well known for their expertise in medicine, right? Doctors from Cuba, doctors from Ukraine, I mean, before their fight. Okay. Other countries also have their expertise. And like they were not born like that. Do you get it? They developed it, they created it over time. Okay. Right. So we discussed how favorable factor conditions, that is the advanced factors, are created. So with the advanced factors, we have labor, we have technological resources, we have infrastructure. These do not exist naturally. We get it. All right. So we have related and supporting industries that are helping the company at the moment. That is helping them to be innovative and to be competitive in the industry. We have demand conditions. All right. So the demand conditions is saying that if your local, so if you want to go to Burkina Faso, for instance, if Ghana has accepted the products that you are selling, all right, it means that there is a likelihood that Burkina Faso is also going to accept it, irrespective of the cultural background, I mean, the cultural differences and the other differences. Some products just satisfy us because we are humans. We get it. So there's that likelihood that the other country is also going to accept it because the home market has accepted it. Probably you are innovative. Probably other companies are selling the same products, but they are buying yours because of how competitive you are and how innovative your products are. Because of that, if you send your products to a different country, they are going to accept it. So that is demand conditions in the home country. Firm strategy, structure, and rivalry. So here we are looking at the strategy of the firm, how the firm is structured, and the competitiveness of the industry we are talking about. So, guys, let's read Porter's diamond. Let's look at the case and how we can relate it to the Porter's diamond. We have criticisms here. The fact that it's sort of skewed or relevant to just advanced economies, and the fact that it does not consider multinational companies. All right. So that is it. Chapter 2, we are done. Chapter 3. All right. So here we are looking at competitive forces. So we discussed competition and markets. We spoke about the five forces model of Portes. We spoke about the life cycle model, the BCG matrix, and opportunities and threats. We have already discussed opportunities and threats. Okay. Um. So we discussed the various types of industries: fragmented, emerging, mature industries, declining industries. We spoke about global industries as well. We discussed convergence, right? Where we said that two different industries becoming one industry, that is convergence. So we said that it can be demand led or supply led. All right. We moved on to look at the five forces. according to Porter or Michael Porter. All right. So by now, I hope these are on our fingertips, right? Because these questions can come anytime, and like we can't afford to not answer these. So we have threats from potential entrants, threats from substitute products, bargaining power of suppliers, bargaining power of customers, and rivalry. So you have two threats, two bargaining powers, and rivalry, right? I'm sure by now we all know what these mean. So threats from potential entrants. How are we guarding people from entering into the industry? Barriers of entry. Is it low or high? What makes a barrier of entry low and what makes it high? We discuss economies of scale, capital investment requirements. You don't just set up an oil company in Ghana. Like you don't. Upstream company. If I say upstream, I'm talking about exploration, development, and production. You can't do it because it is capital intensive. And that will restrict a lot of people from getting into that industry. So we have access to distribution channels, time to become established, the know-how, switching costs, government regulation. Sometimes the government will give the provision of the service to just one company. It's a regulation that this company should do this service. So that the entry is high. You can't go there because the government hasn't given you the opportunity to do that. We have threats from substitute products. We have bargaining power of suppliers. Sometimes suppliers are very powerful that they can change everything, right? Especially when majority of your suppliers is coming from one person. Okay, they know you need them, all right, and they will know they are powerful over you. All right. Bargaining power of customers, and we have competitive rivalry. So this is um, the five forces model according to Michael Porter. All right. So we also discussed the life cycle model where we said that a product will start from just like human beings. So you'll be introduced to the world through birth, you go through the growth stage, you mature and you decline. Okay. All right. So we should know the cost implication at every stage of the life cycle model, the benefits of the life cycle model, and all that. Okay. So let's look at BCG, that's the Boston Consulting Group. As we are all aware, this is a 2x2 matrix where we are looking at market growth and market share. Okay. So we have stars, we have question marks, we have cash cows and dogs. And this is once again another matrix. So with the matrix, as I said earlier, please know how to draw this. If you know how to draw this and you know each of the dimensions, you can just explain that stars are companies or strategic business units that have high market growth and high market share. You get it? All right. You do not need to talk plenty. All right. You just need to know this. Right. I'm not saying don't learn the other descriptions of the quadrants. Right. But if you don't have the time, at minimum, okay, at minimum, please know the metrics and how to draw it. Because if you can draw this, you can explain what stars are, you can explain what cash cows are, you can explain what dogs are. All right. But please learn what each of the quadrants also say. Um, please know the weaknesses of the Boston Consulting Group. Now we have SWOT analysis, as the name suggests, strength, weakness, opportunities, and threats. All right. Please know how to do this. This is easy. So if you realize that the company is doing something very well and they are doing it with their available resources, with their internal resources, it's a strength, right? So when you're doing strength analysis, you can just do a quadrant, right? So strength, weakness, opportunities, and threats. All right. Okay. All right. So let's look at internal analysis. Here we are looking at um, how companies become competitively well as compared to their relatives with respect to their internal resources that they have and their internal competences, right? So we discuss strategic capability, okay, where we discuss the resource-based view. We also spoke about customer needs, where we spoke about 4 Ps. Guys, don't forget the 4 Ps. So products, price, place, and promotion. We spoke about critical success factors and KPIs. All right, so the examiner has also set a question on this before. The 6-step approach to using the critical success factors. So please, let's note this if we haven't looked at this before. We also discussed benchmarking, right? Where we said that you take a best performer in the industry and you compare your operations, or you compare your whatever you want to compare with them. So we have the internal benchmarking, operational benchmarking, competitive benchmarking, and customer benchmarking. Okay. So we also discussed value chain analysis. This was also proposed by Michael Porter, right? Yes. Where we spoke about inbound logistics, operations, outbound logistics, marketing and sales, and service, right? You can even learn how to draw this diagram. Who knows? The examiner is going to give you marks for just doing this, right? So we know that the inbound logistics concern raw materials and how we receive and handle these raw materials, how we store them, how we keep them from spoilage and all that, right? We have operations that's converting these raw materials into finished goods that can be sold to customers. Okay. We have outbound
We keep going
logistics.
up and down. This is not loading.
We have outbound logistics where, so as the name suggests, outbound. So we are looking at distribution and delivery of the things to customers, right? We have marketing and sales and also service. So we have, sorry, I didn't mention this. We have primary value chain and secondary value chain. So these are the primary value chain, these 5 items, primary. Then we have the secondary value chain, procurement, technology development, HR, and corporate infrastructure. Okay, so we learn about how to add value. So before you add value, you have to analyze the customer needs of your customers, right? What do they need? What do they even call value? Is it quality? Is it affordability? Is it convenience? All right. So after analyzing this, you produce in that regard to the customers. Okay. All right. So we discussed the customer relationship management, where we said that some companies implement a whole management system on its own to manage the relationship that they have with their customers. And these systems help them with analytics, operations, and collaborations, right? Okay, so we discussed some of the CRM strategies. We started with acquiring customers. Okay, so the marketers will go out and get these customers through various channels. Now we have email, adverts, and all that. So while you are scrolling through your email, you realize that some companies are doing adverts. These are all strategies for acquiring you as a customer, right? After acquiring you, they have to retain you and they have to extend some of their services to you. I spoke about bank assurance when I was discussing this with you guys, that you went to your bank because you wanted to save, right? You went there because you wanted to save. You wanted to open an account with them, right? But you realize that now banks are doing insurance, bank assurance, right? So this is the extension that we are talking about, the extension strategies. They are leveraging the existing customers that they have with different products. Okay, so I'm sure most of us have insurance products with these banks, Okay, so they are selling the insurance on behalf of the insurance companies. Okay, so realize that now relationship or marketing is not transactional anymore, it's relationship, right? That's why I'm sure yesterday they sent you a lot of messages. I mean, the companies that you have been buying from, Father's Day, they will send you a message. They want to, maintain that relationship. So MTN will send you 1 gig on your birthday. Do you understand? They want to maintain you. So now they're doing relationship marketing instead of transactional, like buy, sell, we are done. No. All right. So let's move on. We also discussed resources and competencies. So we have human resources, physical resources, financial resources, and intellectual resources. All right. So we discussed threshold resources and unique resources. So the threshold resources, the minimum resources that you need to survive in the market, right? So when you are doing a degree, you need a D to pass. So that is threshold resource. That is the minimum you can get to survive. The unique resources are usually controlled by the market leaders. All right. And it's usually rare to acquire. So those that have competitive advantage will have these resources. Okay. All right. We also have competencies, right? So resources, we have threshold resources and unique resources. With competencies, we have threshold competencies and core competencies. Please use the same explanation. Just change it because this is talking about the minimum competence that you need. And this is also talking about the competence that you need to become a market leader or to have competitive advantage in the market. Okay. So we also discussed that companies should not just be or should not just have competitive advantage. They have to have sustainable competitive advantage. So your competencies should be sustainable. It shouldn't be just having a competence. All right. Because if you don't control, if you don't manage your resources and your competencies very well, it might go away from you. I think one of the examples we're talking about an investment banker, which is very knowledgeable and working with one investment bank. Okay. Another investment bank can come and poach that person. If they come for that person, you have lost that person, that individual. I get it. So you have to make sure you maintain a sustainable core competence. So it should be durable and it should be difficult to imitate. Right. All right. Okay. So this is SWOT analysis. I am sure we spoke about SWOT. All right. So let's look at this where we do resource audit. I hope you all know what auditing is. Okay. So resource audit, you are assessing how far you are with respect to your company. You're assessing. So what resources do I have now? What do I need to be the best in the industry? That is basically what resource audit is. So you audit the human resource, you audit management, you audit raw materials, you audit non-current assets, intangible assets, and all the other resources of the company. Let's look at how we can value or evaluate resources. Okay, so we have the viral framework. I'm sure we have seen this. I think this is also a examinable question. So let's take note of this. Viral means value, imitability, rarity, and organization. So let's read it and know what they are. We have already spoken about SWOT. All right, so this is what I said, preparing a SWOT analysis. So we just do a quadrant, strength, weakness, opportunities, threats are here. Anything in the case that is giving the company a competitive advantage within or from within is a strength. So you can talk about research knowledge of the company, highly skilled employees,
their investment prowess, their high profit margins, and all that. Anything from within that is not allowing them or that is restraining them from becoming or achieving competitive advantage is a weakness. So these are internal analysis, strength, weakness, internal, opportunities and threats are coming outside. So if you don't mind, these are what we call PESO. So you can do PESO in SWOT analysis because you do PESO to determine the opportunities and threats. Do you get it? So even if you are asked to do SWOT analysis, you have to do PESO for opportunities and threats. All right. Okay, let's move on to chapter 5, competitive advantage. I've been using this word in our discussion. Let's go and look at what it is. So, once again, Michael Porter is here, right? So, you having an advantage over the other person, competitive advantage. So, when I was teaching you guys, I said that, sometimes they'll be doing 200 meters or 100 meters. Like they're all running, but someone is winning. Okay, they are all going, but someone is winning because both or any person that is winning, we have a Ghanaian athlete now, Joe Paul, right? He's winning because of his competitive advantage. They are all doing well. They are all running. They are all doing their best, but one is doing the most. Competitive advantage. So we discussed the strategic clock. Let's go and look at the clock. Guys, please let's know this. These are some of the models that we can know very easily. So let's know them. So we have once again a plot here, which look at the perceived benefits of the product and the price of the product. So we have the no frills. As I said, even if you don't know the explanation and you know how to draw this, it can explain. So you know that no frills, they are charging low prices and the perceived benefit is also low. You have the low price, you have hybrid, differentiation, and focus strategy. Any other strategy that falls here will fail. Okay, we did the analysis as to why they will fail in class. So let's look at the strategic clock and learn about it as well. Right, let's look at cost leadership, differentiation, and locking strategies. Once again, this is also from Porter. These are generic strategies for competitive advantage, where a company can employ the cost leadership strategy, the differentiation strategy, or the focus strategy. We said that under the focus strategy, there is cost leadership and differentiation as well, if you remember. So cost leadership, trying to be the lowest cost producer in their market. That is all. Differentiation, you are trying to produce or you're trying to make your products different from rival products in the market, right? So that, customers will know that this is iPhone. It's not Android. It's iOS. Any other phone is Android, but iPhone is iOS. So they are using a differentiation strategy. You have the focus strategy. So here, you don't concentrate on the market as a whole, right? So if it's Ghana, you're not looking at Ghana. So we employ the cost leadership and the differentiation in Ghana as a whole. But the focus will go to Ashanti region. So they will select one part or one segment of the market, but after selecting it, they will employ either the cost leadership or the product differentiation strategy. All right. Guys, this is also a likely examinable question because the examiner has been setting questions on this. Please, likely examinable doesn't mean it's coming on. As you are all aware, I don't know what is coming, but let's take note of these and learn these. The 6 principles of strategic positioning. Okay. If you are reading, realize that the examiner or the book has highlighted what you need to know. The fact that the principle 1 is strategic goal for a company should be to achieve a superior long-term return on investment. The second principle is that a company should offer a unique value proposition. Before you can do that, your value chain should be distinctive. You are going to have some trade-off doing that. And all the different elements in the strategy and in the value chain should link together and reinforce each other. And also, this should be a continuity of your strategic direction. So any other thing that you are doing, anything you are doing shouldn't be a move away or a sway away from your strategic direction. It should be moving towards that. We have target market, as the name suggests, targets. You are targeting the market. We have market niche, right? We also discuss leaders, followers, challenges, and niches. So as the name suggests, they have the most market shares. They are the leaders of the market. Challengers are also challenging the leaders. They want to become market leaders one day. So they are challenging them. The follower do not have any intentions of becoming the leader. They sometimes copy the leader. So if the leader go to left, they go to the left. If the leader goes to the right, they also go to the right. The follower. Then we have the nature. They don't want any problems. They are not concentrating on the market as a whole. So the nature is someone employing a focus strategy. Okay, so they are targeting a market segmentation and they are just offering their products to them. Product positioning, we spoke about it. Like keeping your products in the minds of customers, right? We spoke about the fact that you can be number one or number two, right? So we said that advertising can enhance product marketing, right? I hope we are all aware that every toothpaste is called Pepsodent, right? That is product positioning. Unilever, is it Unilever, right? Yes, they have been able to position Pepsodent in our minds that even if you are going to get a toothpaste, any other toothpaste, we say we are going to get Pepsodent. So that is a very clear example of product positioning. We have lock-in strategy. Sometimes companies will offer a service to you that you might have to come back, or you might not have any other option than to come back. Typically is um, installation of certain equipment. For instance, CCTV, you go and buy CCTV cameras, you might not have any other option than to call the same company to come and fix it for you. When they come to fix it, they are coming to charge you again. So that's a lock-in strategy. The book used Microsoft and other things. But yep. Guys, I hope you are following. I hope you are following. Sure. So we also discussed strategies in conditions in hyper competition environments. We are not looking at that today. We spoke about collaboration. Sorry. So even though competition exists, sometimes companies collaborate. They get together to form alliances. All right. Especially when they think they are going to be more efficient doing that. Right. So we have strategic alliance. We have joint venture. Please, we saw some joint venture in the case that PBL in 2015 formed a joint venture with SNET. Please, let's read on joint ventures. Right. Let's read on joint ventures. We have franchising. I'm sure the very first example that comes to mind is KFC. Right. Franchising. Licensing, shared management teams. We have pooled budgets. We have consortia. We have cartels, right? So sometimes companies and form cartels to um, profit or to gain extreme profits. OPEC is part, Organization for Oil Producing Countries, right? Okay. So that is it for chapter 5 as well. Let's move on to methods of development. I mean, we've come very far. Hopefully, we are able to do a lot of things today so that tomorrow, God willing, we start analyzing the case. So let's look at methods of development. Ansoff's growth metrics, very important because of the fact that PBL is trying to move to other countries and other regions. Please take very, very good notice of these areas. All right, so you have Answers model. Once again, this is a matrix. So you know the dimensions. We have market, we have product, market penetration strategy. So you are using existing products in the existing markets. You have market development. So market development, you are developing a new market with existing products. PBL sends their products to other regions. They were in Greater Accra only, but they send their products to other regions. That's market development strategy. Please take note. You have product development strategy where new products are sold in existing markets. You have diversification strategy where new products are sold in new market or in a new market. As I said, you might not need to know all of these, okay? But if you have time, or if you have been able to go through it before, then that is fine. Guys, please give me a minute. Guys, please give me a minute. I'm told some people are in the waiting room. Let me. Okay, sorry guys, let's continue. Unfortunately, I didn't see anyone in the waiting room. Okay, so yes, so as I was saying, let's know the metrics, know the dimensions, and you are good to go. We can learn the other things, how the market penetration strategy can be employed, advertising, and all the other things. All right. Okay. So very likely examinable question, especially market development. We have diversification. We have concentric diversification, which is related or horizontal, and we have the conglomerate diversification. Okay. So if you check the case, let me even show you that we haven't started yet, but let me show it to you so that you know what I am talking about.
Syllabus, what discussed, you can now look at what the basic information which has been with you and will remain with you for 2 weeks. Depends on what you do with it. Is that clear? So I'm not here to read to you as a journalist. I'm here to walk you through the information I've provided, where there is a need to make some reference.
Okay, so this is what I'm talking about. We haven't started analyzing the case yet, but over the years, the company has evolved and diversified, honing its expertise in a wide array of endeavors, including 10 key projects. So you ask yourself, is this concentric or conglomerate? Comprehensive site development encompassing road and drainage system constructions and the installation of water and electrical distribution networks, right? There are other things that are talking about diversification. So we have to know about diversification and what it is. Okay, so let's move on. Let's move on. Yes, so we already know what diversification is. Moving from one market or an existing market to a new market with different products, diversification, different products. The area that you're going to might be related to your existing market. If it is, we call it concentric. If it's not, it's conglomerate. I hope it's clear. We also discussed gap analysis. So this is the Answers model. Once again, please look at it very well. We discussed the withdrawal strategy. You know, sometimes when we looked at the life cycle model, we said we have introduction, we have growth, maturity, then decline. When they decline, sometimes they have to withdraw from the market. So how do they withdraw? When you also look at the Boston Consulting Groups, we said that we have dogs. Dogs might not be profitable to the company or to the SBU or to the company as a whole. So they might have to withdraw the dogs from the operations. So this withdrawal strategy also help us withdraw from a particular product market area. We have consolidation and corrective strategies. Okay, so sometimes companies don't grow through external sources, right? They grow through internal sources, like using their retained earnings, getting loans, and all that. Greenest growth model. This is also a very important area that we have to look at. How companies grow. Okay, so they grow through creativity, because companies are usually set up by entrepreneurs, right? So they bring this creativity on board. They use their creativity to run the business. They are running the business as entrepreneurs, right? As they do that, there will be a crisis of leadership, okay? And this crisis of leadership will send the business into another phase, which is the growth through direction, right? Where the company will appoint certain people. Oh, guys, can we please mute? Where the company will appoint certain people to take charge and to direct the affairs of the company. By doing this, branches will start complaining. Divisions will start complaining that why is it that all the authority has been kept at the head office and we are here. We are just doing what they want us to do. So crisis of autonomy will set in. And then the new phase of growth will start. Growth through delegation. With this, they will delegate some of the powers to the branch managers. Yeah, you said you want power. You said you want power, so we'll take the power. After delegating to them, those at the head office will think about it and say again that, oh, we've lost control. Now we are here. We don't do anything. The branches are having a lot of power doing things. Crisis of control will set in. Then growth through coordination will come. Now let's coordinate. The coordination is also related to the direction. Everything will go back to the head office. If it's reports, let's send the report to the head office. Let's do this. Then rate tapeism will set in. Now, the very last phase of growth, which is the growth through collaboration, which is the highest peak, will come, where the head office will collaborate with the branches in the such that there won't be any crisis, according to Greener. So this is what I'm saying. Sometimes you know that this is a growth model, but the question will be set in such a way that only Greener will be mentioned. So if you don't know that Greener proposed or propounded this growth model, you'll be there sitting down. You might not have anything to write. You get it? All right. So that's the Greener's model. We have mergers and acquisition, like merging. So two companies, usually of the same size, of the same power, coming together to form one company, merger. So Airtel Tigo, they merged to become AT. Acquisition is, guys, you are experts here. Let me move. You know acquisitions, you have been doing consolidation and all that. So please know the advantages. Please know the advantages of mergers and acquisitions, right? How do companies benefit when they acquire or they measure instead of developing or growing through internal development? So this one, growth by acquisition or measure is much faster. When you want to acquire a company, you just acquire them. You acquire and they continue their operations, right? So it's fast. You don't need to set up a company again. You don't need to put together a team to think about strategies and all that. No, the business is already there. Okay. When Barclays said they were leaving Ghana, Absa just came and they took over. They acquired it and they continued. Right. They didn't need to get another license from BOG or any other thing. They understand. So these and other things are some of the advantages of mergers and acquisition. Right. Let's look at the disadvantages as well. So diversification and integration. So with integration, we all know what it means. You're extending your business to either acquire your suppliers or your customers. We have horizontal and vertical. Under vertical, we have forward and backward. Okay. Guys, if you take critical look at the case, there is some level of integration here because the company, let me read exactly. In recognition of its commitment to quality and sustainability, PBL has strategically invested in enterprises dedicated to manufacturing international standard building materials. This strategic move has given rise to a family of esteemed companies, including PBL Concrete Products. Concrete. So probably a particular company was missing the concrete for PBL. Now they have a concrete company, PBL Towers Limited, PBL Estate Management Company, and PBL Deco Ghana Limited. Are you seeing some level of integration here? Okay, so please know your integration, forward integration, backward integration. Know the pros and cons for integration. Okay, so here we also discussed Mackenzie and General Electric, sorry, business screen, where we spoke about the business position and the market attractiveness. So here we have market attractiveness here, and we have competitive position. This topic is a bit technical, but let's try our best to just read. So we learn the Shell directional policy companies. So this is also the Shell directional policy. We also learned about Montanari and Breaker. So even though nothing about the case speak about public sector, they can ask you, what do you think? What do you think about the public sector metrics as well? Do you understand? According to Montanari and Breaker. So as I said, the case is just there, all right? But anything can happen. The unseen and the questions that the examiner was set can change a lot of things. But I mean, we have the case. Okay, so with the public sector metrics, we have the public sector star, all right? We have the golden fleece, we have the political hot box, we have the back drawer issue. All right, so we have corporate parenting, okay, where companies take certain or other companies or other strategic business units as their children. So we have three broad parenting styles. I think this might also come because of the fact that the Ghana company of PBL is managing the other ones. So please look at corporate parenting, and it was propounded by Gold and Campbell. Right. So we have the financial control style, you have the strategic planning style, and the strategic control style. All right. So we also discussed the asterisk portfolio display. Okay. We also discussed the asterisk portfolio display. So we have the Ballest business, the Alien business, Heartland business, and the Value Trap businesses. All right. So we have international strategic choice. Once again, international has come in. So let's take note of this. All right. So we have the ethnocentric, polycentric, regiocentric, and geocentric. So these are ways that directors view the rest of the world. Okay. Are they using the ethnocentric approach? If they are using the ethnocentric approach, they believe that their home country is superior. So if they are selling in Ghana, they think that, or they believe that whatever if they send the same products to Nigeria, they will buy. All right. Yes. So that's the ethnocentric approach. The polycentric is somehow different. It considers each country unique because each country is unique, right? So that's the polycentric approach. The regiocentric also group the world into regions. Okay, so we can group them into Africa, Europe, Latin America, Asia, and all that. Okay, we all know that most companies do that, right? Especially the audit firms. So you have KPMG Africa, and even in Africa, there will be subgroups. So KPMG West Africa, or West Africa market area, East Africa market area, South Africa market area. So we have geocentric, which also see the world as one, okay, as one potential market. So they don't see any differences in the world. They see it as one. So we can just sell to anywhere. And this combines the ethnocentric and the polycentric approaches. So we have the IR framework, the global integration, and the responsiveness framework. As I said, the things are plenty, all right? But let's do our best to cover a lot of them. We also spoke about forecasting tools. We discussed trend analysis, the various outcome of trend analysis. That's the constant pattern, the linear pattern, the exponential pattern. We spoke about system modeling, all right, where we don't have one component. We are not using one or basing on one component or one variable to do the analysis. All right. We might have a lot of variables that we are going to consider in the analysis. That's the system modeling, right? Those that know the multiple regression. So multiple regression is a very good example of system modeling. You have the Delphi technique. We discussed this. So this is a qualitative forecasting tool or forecasting measure where you group experts. They discuss whatever they think the forecast should be, you implement it. All right. So we also looked at how we can assess business strategy. We discussed suitability, acceptability, and feasibility. So is it suitable? Does it fit? Is there a strategic fit with the business strategy that you want to employ? Right? Is it going to be accepted by the various stakeholders, especially the significant ones? And is it practicable? Okay. All right. All right. So we also discussed a little about ethics. We spoke about ethical issues, ethical stance, reputation risks, some form of risk here. I'm moving because we are going to do risks and ethics proper. We also spoke about CSR here and how CSR can give companies competitive advantage. We spoke about strategy selection, the fact that there can be a formal evaluation or enforced choice. So formal evaluation is where you are analyzing the choices yourself, okay, to select one. So when you're doing MPV, you are doing what we call formal evaluation. Sometimes you are forced to choose one. When we are discussing leaders, followers, and natures, I said that the challengers there, they want to become like the leaders. So they are always challenging them. But the followers are always or usually following the steps of the leader, right? In that way, if the leader chooses option A, they will be forced to choose A. So that's enforced choice. Sometimes to some significant and important stakeholders will force you to choose a particular alternative because they are powerful and they will insist you choose it. If you don't, they will go away, right? So learning and experience, we discuss what the difference are and all that. Let's look at this. Characteristics in a learning organization. Characteristics in a learning organization. So as I said, you might probably know this as the characteristics of a learning organization, but the question might be set in such a way that it will mention how Pedler, Bergoni, and Boydell explain or describe organizations, right? Without even mentioning learning organization. Okay, so you have to know, you have to try. It's difficult, but try as much as possible to know the people behind the models and the theories that we are learning. So we have a learning approach to strategy, participative policy making. As a learning organization, the board of directors don't just make a decision and put it on you to do. No, it is participative. What do you think? Even the least person in the organization is given the opportunity to make his point or her point. There is information available, formative accounting and control. There is internal exchange. The company also rewards flexibility. There are enabling structures, boundary workers as environmental scanners, intercompany learning, learning climate, and self-development opportunity for all. Right. Let's move on to strategy implementation, where we spoke about or we started organizing. We did frameworks, structures, and all that. So we discussed organizational structure. We discussed entrepreneurial structure. We have functional structure, divisional structure, and metric structure. We discussed all of these. So as I'm mentioning the things, if you don't remember anything, please write it down, okay? So that you look at it. We discussed span of control. That's the number of people who directly report to a particular manager in a hierarchy. I'm sure we all remember this. We did a lot of examples on span of control. The fact that it can be tall and wide. So tall, narrow, to tall, narrow, and wide, flat. The characteristics of being or a structure being tall, narrow, and the characteristics of a structure being wide, flat. We also discussed internal and external relationships. We spoke about centralization and decentralization here. Going through the case, we can say that PBL is using the centralization approach, and there were indications that they were going to use the decentralization approach. So the question can ask you to discuss centralization and decentralization. So as you're doing that, you make sure you link it to the case, and you also give advantages and disadvantages of the two. We have seen strategic alliances here once again. Companies also outsource to other people. We discussed outsourcing, where you give certain aspect of your operation to other contractors to perform on your behalf, right? We spoke about reasons for outsourcing, the fact that the company can have the opportunity and the time to focus on activities that are core to the company, right? Sometimes you might not have the knowledge in the activity that you are outsourcing. So you better outsource. You get it? You better outsource it to someone who is knowledgeable. Okay. All right. We also have a lot of challenges and problems with outsourcing. The fact that you lose control over it and all of that. Okay. We spoke about virtual organizations. Now, some companies do not even have physical presence. They operate virtually. Because of that, we said that the information systems, information control, cybersecurity systems should all be working so that hackers don't find their way through the organization. We spoke about mechanistic and organistic structures as proposed by Burns and Stoker. Before we did that, we spoke about the contingency theory of organizational structure, which says that the most effective organizational structure is the structure that reflects the circumstance at hand, right? So we don't have a fixed structure that is acceptable. So you structure your company according to the current happenings of the company, right? So please know what mechanistic is and what organistic is. All right. So we also have Mintzberg 5 building blocks for organizational configurations. Strategic Apex, operating core, middle line, support staff, techno structure. We discussed all of these. So if I haven't seen anything that relates to these things, but guys, we never know. As I said, if I mention something and you have forgotten, please write it as part of your revision list. If you haven't seen it at all, please write it. We have Mintzberg 6 organizational structure configurations. We discussed this. Simple structure, machine bureaucracy, professional bureaucracy, divisionalized form, adhocracy, and missionary organization. Please know what these are. Once again, we are looking at collaborative working and resource sharing. We have already looked at that already. Conclusion: the most appropriate organizational structure is the one that depicts the current circumstance of the organization. So it depicts the size, the environment, the culture, and all that. Okay. Now, business plans. Business plan. So please know this. No, you never know. You never know what the examiner can bring. So know this. Know the outline for business plan. That a business plan will have a title page. It will have a table of content, introduction, executive summary, body of the report, which has the description of the business, pestle analysis. So this is environmental analysis. So we do pestle analysis here. Industry background, competitor analysis, market analysis. We have operating plans, management summary, discussing the CVs, the expertise, the skills, and the experiences of management. And we have financial plans, discussing the cash flows and the cash forecast of the company. conclusions and recommendations, and appendices, which will have other detailed information. So know this, please know this. Know that know this as the outline or the structure of business plan. The title page will be there. So you know that you put your title, the person writing it, the name of the organization, and any other thing, the dates. So the table of content, I don't think we necessarily have to write the table of content, but yeah. The introduction, which is going to give us what the report that we are writing is about, why are we even writing the report, and how we gather the data that we use for the report, right? You have the executive summary. So this is a synopsis of everything that is in the paper, all right? As we said, some people don't even read the whole paper. No, they don't have time. They are businessmen. So they take the executive summary and look at what the paper is saying. So your executive summary should be sophisticated enough in such a way that if someone takes it, like it's
I
like
miss
you have read the whole case or the whole report. So you should have what the
not
report
two
is
of them.
about,
Why?
the problems and challenges of the report. It will have the recommendation and the conclusions you arrived at. The body, as we said, will describe the business, so the mission and the objectives, the history, the products and the services that the business offer. It will have the background. As I said, we use spatial analysis here. You do SWOT analysis. Okay, so business plan is a whole, I mean, strategic case study paper on its own. You do competitive analysis here. You look at the competitors of the business. That is if they are mentioned. So if they are mentioned and you are doing this competitor analysis, you write, you can even write, these are the competitors of PBL Company Limited. Reggie Manuel Construction or Real Estate Company, this company, and all of that. We have market analysis where you talk about the size, segmentation, and the growth of the market. These are all in the case, right? So we have marketing plan that forms part of the operation plans. So operating plan and marketing plan. So marketing, you're looking at your 4Ps. Remember, 4Ps. So you're going to discuss your products, your price, your place, and your promotion. Then your operations. How are you going to operate? All right. Then management summary. So remember the as I said, we don't have anything like that in this case. So it's not likely that this form of question will come. So you have conclusion, appendices, and all that. Let's look at models for evaluating strategic performance. We have balance scorecard. Guys, balance scorecard is in the case. And I don't know what the examiner wants you guys to do. Right. But I'm just thinking that they are going to let you discuss the results. So if you check, right, it has two figures, high, low. One is high, one is low. But balance scorecard is there. I hope you have all seen it. So balance scorecard is saying that companies are always looking at their financial performance. There are other things that we should look at. Our customers, tenure perspective, innovation and learning as well. Guys, we know this. So let's move on. So please know this. When we discuss the case, we will look at what the examiner might bring for us to do in the case. But clearly, balance scorecard is there. So please look at it very well. Some of the things we have to just move on. All right, so let's look at change management. So Change happening in organizations. Some of them are planned, some of them are unplanned. The planned ones are called proactive change because it was deliberate or it is deliberate and intentional. The unplanned ones are reactive. They come in response to a particular development or event. All right. So that is we have incremental and transformational changes. We have changes that happen one off and other changes that happen continuously. We discussed triggers for change, and we said that we use spatial analysis to do these triggers. So what is requiring us, okay, what is requiring us to change our operations, to change our strategies might be from a political view, an economic view, a socio-cultural view, a technological view, ecological view, or a legal view. There are some triggers which are also internal. So you have change of senior management. Sometimes some people take over as CEOs and they say that new king, new laws. So they bring their own strategies and all that. When there is acquisition and measures too, right? When two companies form one company, there has to be a change. Because which salary structure are we using? Okay. Which promotional structure are we using? Which mission are we using? Airtel and Tigo form to become one company. So they have to change their way of doing things. They might decide to use Airtel's way of doing things. That will mean that people working in or people who are working at Tigo will have to change to learn what Airtel people do. I hope you get it. The measures are also like separating from a measure. We have reorganization, downsizing, and rationalization. All right. So we discussed consequences of change. We discussed attitude to change. That sometimes there are some blockages to change. People ordinarily do not like change because they will think that they are going to lose their job. And it's true, right? If you are going to reorganize the company, it's highly possible that some of the employees will go home. So they will resist, right? Okay. Because of this, we spoke about change and organization, where we said that there are some organizations that have change as part of their culture. So change always occurs in the company. So they are used to it. So whenever there is change, they will easily adapt to the change. Okay, right. We also learn about how to manage strategic change. We spoke about levels of change. We spoke about role of leadership in managing change, the skills for managing change. We spoke about the driving forces and the restraining forces according to Kurt Lewin. That there are forces that will support the need for change. There are other forces that will oppose and resist the change that you are bringing on board. And Kurt Lewin suggested that as a change manager, don't concentrate on the driving forces. They're already supporting you. Well, they can come here, but try to reduce the restraining forces. Okay. Yes. So that's what we discussed here. We discussed about unfreeze, change, and refreeze. We realized that it's the same as the theory that we discussed. We spoke about a change agent, right? So sometimes companies employ the services of a change agent who is coming to drive the change, and that person is in charge of the successful implementation of the change. It can be someone who is within, or and who is outside the company because that person is perceived to be independent and fair. And that person might have the experience in managing change. Because the person is a consultant, meaning the person have been doing this over and over again. You get it? All right. We learned about Gemini 4 hours, reframe, restructure, revitalize, and renew. We spoke about Mackenzie's 7S approaches, where we say we have hard S and soft S. So the hard S's, we have strategy, structure, systems. The soft S, we have staff, skills, style, and shared values. Sorry. We also discussed the cultural web, very important area. The 6 elements that make up a culture of a particular company. We spoke about stories. Sometimes you go there and hear stories, and the stories are the culture of the company. We have symbols, all right, the logo of the company, the business premises, the dress code of the employees. These are symbols. We have power structure. We have organizational structure. So the power structure looks at the most influential people who are occupying positions in the company. The organizational structure is the normal organizational or organogram that we know. You have control systems and also rituals. Rituals might not be written, but they are things that companies do each and every day. Right. This is not a topic I usually talk about. So let's look at the content and rush through it. So strategies, finance strategies, research and development strategies, production strategies, human resource strategies. Now we are at the final stage of this qualification. So we all know what these will cover. Guys, when questions from these come, don't stress yourself. Write anything you know about research and development. Write anything you know about development and production, sorry. Anything you know about HR, marketing. So you know that the 4 P's are supposed to be here. You write about them. ISIT strategy, internal control strategy, e-business and all that. So let's move on. Let's move on. All right, so now the almighty risk identification and assessment. So here we looked at the definition and the introduction to risk. We spoke about the nature of risk. We discussed pure risk, which is also called downside risk. When you read a case, you see some risk things going on there. We look at the case, all right? So we also know that speculative risk, all right? We looked at the nature of risk management. We spoke about the responsibilities for risk management. We said that it rests with the directors. Okay, it rests with the directors. The directors will also bring some of the responsibilities to management. Okay, right. We also looked at ICGN, that is International Corporate Governance Network's guidelines for risk oversight, which also confirmed that risk oversight process begins with the board. Please take note. The board is responsible for setting up the risk profile of the company and anything risk. In fact, the board of directors are responsible for everything that happens in the organization, right? Because when you look at the separation of ownership and control, the owners are saying that we can't do this, so directors do it for us. Directors will choose to bring management. It doesn't mean they are not going to be held responsible for the actions of management. So directors, that is the board, is responsible for everything that happened in the organization. So we also discussed the element of a good risk management system, the fact that the risk management should be a culture in the company. Everybody should be aware of the risk appetite and the risk policy of the company. Right. We also went to look at organizing for risk management. Most of these are part of corporate governance, so we will look at corporate governance. So we also discuss categories of risk. So there is this setting that the examiner just threw the question by mentioning the Tembu report. So if you don't know that the Tembu's report categorized risk into these forms, you might be sitting there. I think it was April, is it April 2020? Sorry, 2022. I think so, yes. You get it. So please try your best to know the people behind the theories and the models. So we have market risk, credit risk, liquidity risk, technological risk, legal risk. All right. So market risks, the probability that there are going to be volatility in the prices of goods and services. Right. Credit risks, the risks of losses from bad debt or delays by customers in the settlement of their obligations. Credit risk. Right. Liquidity risks, we all know what liquidity is. So the risk that a particular company is not able to settle their liabilities within the required time frame. You get it? Technological risk, legal risk, which is also called regulatory risk. So anything that can happen in the legal frame, the health, safety, and environmental risk, reputation risk, the business probity risk, which concerns integrity and honesty, derivative risk. Okay, we looked at forwards and features in financial strategies. All right, so the risk that what you intended to do, okay, did not come to pass. Right. So all these are things that we can skip. We also spoke about exposure to risk. That's the probability that you can suffer a particular risk. Residual risk, okay, after controlling the risk, there will definitely be some aspect of risk that you can't do anything about. So that is the residual risk. So the remaining exposure to a risk after control measures have been taken into place. All right. So we also discussed the dynamic nature of risk assessment. So we looked at this continuum. The extreme end is static and the other end is dynamic. We said that companies are not here. They are not at the extreme far here. They are not at the extreme point here. They are somewhere here, right? Because there are no businesses whose environments do not change. And there are no industries or marketing in the world whose dynamic or whose environment is always changing every day, every now and then. So companies' risk structure will usually fall within static and dynamic. So we also spoke about risk appetite, as the name suggests, appetite. So if you have appetite for food, it's looking at the tendency that you can eat, right? So we are looking at the minimum or the level of risk that the company can accept, the level of risk that a company can accept. And it's usually set by the board of directors. So the board policy on risk will usually set the board appetite or the risk appetite, sorry. Right. So we have let me see this. Oh, let's move on. Risk identification, where we are trying to look out for the risk that can have potential effect on the company. Okay, the risk that can have potential effect on the company. So we spoke about the fact that after identifying them, you rank them, you identify the risks that are the most significant, and you identify those that need urgent attention. Right. we said that the risks that we identify might not only affect the company, it might affect various stakeholders of the company. So we have some risk affecting employees, some risk affecting investors. So liquidity risks will obviously affect employees. If the company is not liquid, they might not even have cash to pay the employees, right? Yes. So we have investors, we have creditors, right? Communities and the general public, the government, customers, business partners, and all other stakeholders. We also looked at this risk profiling or risk assessment framework, all right, which helps us look at the impact and probability of risk. So the two dimensions here are impact, or the size of the potential loss in the event of the risk, and also the probability that the risk will materialize, right? So if the impact is low and the probability is low, you don't leave it, you review it periodically, because this can move to something else. It can move to this side. This small risk that you think has a low impact and a low probability can move to becoming a risk with a high impact and a high probability. So you have to review it periodically to confirm that it is still having a low impact and a low probability. We have high impact and low probability. The impact is high, but the chances of it happening is low. So you consider the need for control measures like insurance, so that in case it happens, the insurance will cover. Then we have high impact, high probability. You take immediate action to control the risk. We have low impact, but the probability or the chances of it happening is high. You consider the need for control action. So you control these two because of the high probability of it happening. So please take note of these metrics as well. As we said, risk is an ongoing process. It's not something that we start and stop. No, we do it every day. We do it every day. How to measure risk? Okay, we said that sometimes it depends on the particular risk that you're measuring, right? So if it is liquidity risk, you know that you are computing your liquidity ratios to measure the risk. So the measurement of risk depends on the particular risk that we are, or the category of risk that we are looking at. And it is where we assign a quantitative value to that particular risk. We prioritize risks to make sure that we deal with the ones that have high impact on us. One way that we can prioritize our risks is by using the risk dashboard, where we said we can use colors to represent the level of risk. Guys, let's move on. All right. So this is telling us about the role of the board of directors in the identification and the assessment of risk. So as we always say, it rests on their shoulders to manage risk. Okay, so we also discussed the ALARP, all right, which means as low as reasonably practicable, if you remember. So we discussed this principle as well. We spoke about related and correlated risk factors. Some risks are related. Some of them are negatively or positively correlated. Positively correlated in the sense that as one goes high, the other goes high. Negatively, as one is going down, the other is going high or going up. All right, so let's move on to controlling risk. Let's end here. We are going to continue with the other chapters tomorrow, God willing. So tomorrow we are going to continue with the remaining chapters and we will start reading. So we first of all read the case together and start with the analysis of the case. Guys, it is going to be a discussion. What do you think? What do you think? Do you get it? So that it will help all of us. If I speak, am I not going to benefit us? So now companies have identified, they have assessed, they have measured, they have prioritized their risk. How do they monitor the risk? They sometimes appoint risk managers to come and monitor the risk for them, right? The risk manager can be in charge of a particular risk, or the risk manager will be in charge of all risk that can affect the company, right? So we can appoint a risk manager who is coming to check the health and safety of the company. So the risk manager in charge of health and safety, right? But we can have, so meaning we are going to have risk managers for other areas, right? We can also have a risk manager who will be in charge of every risk or all risks relating to the company. Aside that, we are going to discuss boards very soon. We realize that companies have risk committees. So we have risk committees who are also in charge of the risk monitoring process. So usually these risk managers will report to the risk committee, who will deliberate on issues and send it to the board, right? We also have risk auditing. We discussed that, where you bring in a consultant or a risk auditor, okay, to audit or monitor your risk process for you, right? So you can bring a risk auditor for the person to come and identify risk and the risks that are effective. All right. And they can also come and check if your risk systems or risk management systems are working. All right. We are going to look at performing risk audit very soon. So we identify the area of risk, we assess the impact and probability, you review and report on the risk to management or whoever called you to undertake the audit. So we have embedding risk, all right, where risk awareness become part of the people of the organization. We make them aware, and this awareness is throughout the organization. From the top management to the lower level management, everyone is aware of risk, the culture of risk, and the risk appetite of the company. So we also have methods of controlling risk. We have diversification, right? So just like investment, right? We can, or even investment can come here because it's a risk, a financial risk here. So we can diversify to reduce risk. Imagine investing in two industries that are negatively correlated, right? It means that you can gain in one area while the other area is going down. So you can do that by diversifying. All right. You can transfer risk by, for instance, insuring the risk. So you can transfer risks by passing some of the risks or all the risks to someone else. Right? When you insure your life, you pass that risk to the insurance company. When you insure your car, you pass the risk to the insurance company that in the event, right? Because if you don't insure your car, right, and it gets missing, you're going to, and you want to get a new one, you have to pay with your own money, right? But if you insure, you transfer that risk to the insurance company that in the event of theft, please give me this. So I'm giving you this money every month or every year or however the terms of the contract is. But in the event Please pay me this. We have risk sharing. Sometimes you collaborate with another person and you share the risk jointly. Those of you in my class, if you remember, I spoke about reinsurance when I was doing this, right? Where you insure, or let's say a multinational company, right, insures an insurance company. The risk is big. When the event happens, that particular Ghanaian insurance company cannot provide the money. So that person will share the risk with another insurance company. So you will reinsure to another insurance company. So sometimes it's they reinsure it with about 3 or 4, so that in the event they will all contribute to help. We also have hedging. We are going to look at that in financial strategies. Then, as a company, or as an individual, you can choose to avoid the risk, and that's also a risk controlling factor. You can avoid it. For instance, credit risks, that's the one that I always use. Credit risks will arise when you sell on credit, right? So if you are selling goods, you can choose not to sell in, you can choose not to sell on credit. By doing that, you avoid credit risk. Okay. We also have risk retention, where you say that I can't do anything about this risk, or the cost that I'm going to incur to fight this risk is more than the benefit that I'm going to derive. So let me just leave it for it to hang. But that risk should be within the acceptable limit. It shouldn't be anything that will come and haunt the company later. All right. So we also know or discuss the TARA framework, which is incorporating some of the factors we have discussed already. TARA, so TARA, transferring risk, avoiding risk, reducing risk, and accepting risk. We also learned that sometimes companies have a system, a framework that help them in the overall management of their risk. We call it the enterprise risk management. So we discussed ISO 31000. We discussed ISO 31000. Okay. So we have 8 R's and T and 4 T's also here. So let's look at this. So let's end here, guys. Let's end here. Tomorrow, God willing, we are going to quickly run through chapter 11 to chapter 25. Then we will start we read the case, we start looking at it. Thank you very much. And please, if you have any question, you can note it so that you ask it tomorrow, God willing. All right. Thank you guys very much. Please, let's join early tomorrow so that we cover a lot of the things that we want to do. So today was just an overview, just to go through the whole document so that you put down the things that you need to attend to urgently, right? Some of the things you might not have to look at them, but there are other things that you urgently have to attend to them. So you look at them. Tomorrow we continue with ethics through to FM, through to corporate governance. Then you will end and start looking at the case. Thank you very much, and please have a good night.